What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Crypto World Radio. My name is Wabi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am your host for today's Spaces here live on the Because Bitcoin page. And if you're listening to us from YouTube, you can catch our other shows on the Crypto World Radio playlist where you can catch all of our previous recordings. Like today, we had an earlier space today with Fuel Network where we spoke about what they're building as far as the blockchain modularity ecosystem and their execution layer on Ethereum. That was a pretty interesting conversation. And I want to give a shout out for today's sponsor for Crypto World Radio, Knowledge Protocol. I put them up on the nest. Knowledge Protocol is a non-custodial lending app with sustainable tokenomics and unique features for borrowers. It offers loans that are under-collateralized with financing up to 150% without the risk of liquidation through its lease solution. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a few guests from the crypto industry. We have somebody from Equalizer, Gorgery, and we also have an individual representing Spooky Swap, and he is Owen right there on the speaker panel. And shout out to Premise for coming on up here, and also Feel Pain, and as usual, Dow Chemist. So a brief introduction for you guys so you guys can know what Equalizer and what Fantom is all about. Equalizer is a DEX on Fantom that has adopted some elements from the Sottile model created by Andre Cronje to create a DEX that rewards holders and also revolutionizes the traditional DEX model. And so, throughout the space, our guest might be sharing some insights about what makes Equalizer special and how it differs from some Sottile forks, and also the potential for it to be a liquidity hub on the Fantom network. So just buckle up, guys. It's going to be a pretty insightful discussion, and we're also going to just talk about broader markets in general, not just about the projects they represent, but about the broader markets. I always find that pretty fun to just describe some crypto market discussions with individuals that have some deeper insight into the crypto industry compared to your average participants. So, as I said, we have Owen from Spooky Swap, and they're another DEX built on Fantom. And Spooky Swap is known for its variety of farms, built-in bridge, limit orders, and all the user-centered service that DEXs are known for. And it's also the largest DEX on Fantom, with some of the biggest daily volume and fee generation across all those DEXs. So, we'll be touching upon like what makes them unique and all that stuff. And great to be here with you guys. So I want to start off by just going around and seeing how everybody is, and then we'll get started. Again, this is a general market discussion, not anything too specific. So if you're here in the audience, it's a relatively small space. I don't really think we're going to have that many people come in outside of the individuals that we have now, but let's go ahead and get started. We'll start off with Dow Chemist. What's going on, my man? Good to have you on here again.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. It's a pleasure to have this conversation. I love DEX. I think the Sottile fork is one of the most interesting design in the space, so I'm excited for this conversation.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And Owen and Gorgery, if you guys can share the space with the live link so other people can join, feel free to do so. Same thing with you guys on the panel. If you guys want to retweet the space, that helps out as well. Payne, how are you doing today, brother?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling, man. We're here. And Premise, how are you doing today, brother? We just got off of space, like.
Yeah, man. Nah, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm chilling. I'm loving it, man. Loving the energy and stuff. And I do love DEXs. I think you can't have a decentralized world without decentralized exchanges. So excited.
Awesome, man. Owen, how are you doing today, brother?
Yeah, great, man. Glad to be here. Just for so people know who I am, so I'm head of BD for Spooky Swap. Spooky amazingly just had its 2-year anniversary. It's hard to believe. I was not part of the founding team. I came on a little later, but yeah, I pretty much manage all business to business interactions for Spooky, and yeah, really happy to be here.
Gorgery, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, doing good. Thanks for inviting us. It's always really fun to talk DeFi, crypto, and everything. So yeah, I work at Equalizer. I'm community manager and business developer, kind of wearing a lot of hats too. We're a small team doing a lot of things, so it's really, really fun, I would say. Really interesting to build a different protocol and tap onto all the different things that are implied in there. So having a blast working 24/7, but we love it. So
Awesome, man. All right, so we'll get started with Owen. Owen, brother, tell me some things about Fantom that make it unique. What are some interesting things that are going on currently within the ecosystem that we may not realize? Because for myself, brother, let me tell you something. The Alt L1 stuff, right? Like things outside of ETH and L2s and all that stuff. I kind of forgot about them after UST, so my knowledge on them is pretty much back to zero. So, if you want to enlighten me, some interesting developments that might be going on, would love to know, man. Would love to know.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So Phantom in general was kind of became popularized because of Andre Cronje, of course. 2 years ago, it was considered a really fast chain, high TPS. Not your typical. I think some people would say it's an L2, but really it's an L1 in my opinion. And became super popular with retail. I would say. I mean, all the forks that were launched on Fantom originally were done by Anon teams. I mean, it wasn't until later, till Aave and some bigger people came in, and so it was a really retail central chain. Um, had crazy high volumes. I mean, there was at one point where Spooky had like 1 billion in a day. Now, after solidly kind of, I would say, failed, and then Andre kind of left for a while, and then coupled with the bear market, yeah, Fantom was affected just like any other chain, I think. There's still, compared to other chains, good volume on Fantom. I mean, we're still like a top 10 on DeFi Llama, I think, and there's little projects here and there. I would say what's really happening is the original teams are looking at going multi-chain. They're adding additional features to their swaps, just like we're doing. Um, I don't. I'm so Fantom centric. It seems like these days that it's hard to know what's going on with other chains. I think in general, what I'm seeing is just that there's a huge push for everyone has their own chain. I mean, I've talked to so many recently, and I think there's way too many, and just the money is all just kind of floating from chain to chain. So I don't know that there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. I mean, I know the guys at Equalizer are doing some really cool things with their solidly fork. Um, but oh well, no, actually, I guess what's happening is the latest thing is Fantom Foundation is looking at doing a bank. They got a banking license apparently. So maybe that's the next big thing, is that Fantom will be a way for people to get banking in crypto, and that might bring a lot of attention to the chain. That might be it. But yeah, other than that, I'm just head down working on improving what we're doing and looking at going multi-chain.
Cool, man. How about yourself, Gogri? How do you pronounce your name, man? I'm sorry, dude. I am.
yeah, you're doing a good job.
Can I
Gorgor
call
is
you
fine.
G? Can I call you G, brother?
Yeah, of
All right.
course
I'll
you
call you
can.
G, man. All right, G. So listen, what are some things that you're noticing on Fantom, man? As I said, my knowledge pretty much went back to zero. I understand that Andre's back, but I'm a bit lost as to what's going on at the current moment.
Well, we've seen the way I see it. I'm probably like kind of new to being a builder on the chain. I've been on the chain operating as a retail investor for a few years now, but building in the chain and looking at it from the inside, it's really a different experience. What I'm seeing the most interesting is in the Fantom virtual machine being apparently already testing and ready to be pushed by the end of the year. The tests are apparently really good. This means basically that the foundation will deploy a different virtual machine which is compatible, EVM compatible. They mostly explain it as like Solidity compatible, meaning that any DeFi protocol, any protocol smart contract can still be deployed on the Fantom virtual machine. But it's I don't want to get too technical. it's apparently super efficient to manage and to scale, which is interesting because like there's all this big debate about scaling Ethereum, which is the chain and among the EVM chains and people doing DeFi, and it's basically the chain that everybody is looking at. And there's a long roadmap to scale Ethereum. You're probably more familiar with that side. We have layer 2s, we have optimistic rollups and ZK rollups, and a long roadmap to scale Ethereum. And the way that the Fantom Foundation is looking at it, and we've seen Andrea speak a lot about this, it's about scaling the layer 1 first before going on to looking on how can layer 2s improve the performance and the scalability of the network. So that's something that many people are looking to. Then on the more business side, yeah, what Owen said about the bank, a possible card that was teased by Andrea a few weeks ago, that got people excited too. But looking at like a longer time frame, and that's the way that the foundation is maybe looking at the game. They're very proud to have like a super long runway and not having spent, which this is a problem. They kind of cut the funds for developers. I think it was last year when the bear market started. A little bit before that, actually, it was kind of close to the time that Andrew was deploying solidly. And well, they cut that made a lot of DeFi native, Fantom native teams go cross-chain, which again, I think like many people saw that as a problem, and I think it's kind of something interesting for Fantom, because we have a lot of native Fantom teams going multi-chain, and some of them are having success on different chains, and they always have this reference and these good connections with the Fantom teams. So that's something that the innovation that happened in DeFi in Fantom in the last few years, and that it's still happening. It's kind of, it can go out and be implemented on other chains. But well, I said a lot of things. I think there are arguments for alt layer ones, especially the ones that have been working on for a long time and have survived. I would say now 2 bear markets already. So that's something I like to look at in my alt layer 1 before running onto the next hot thing.
Well, I've got a question for you guys, right? So recently we've had PEPE come out, right? So, we're in a situation where the PEPE team can come out and be like, you know what? We're going to make an alt EVM called PEPE, right? Payne, am I right that is a possibility? Like, if you create an ERC20, you can just decide to build an EVM all one. Am I right on that, brother?
Well, if you deploy a contract on like as a token, doesn't mean that you can just make that a chain. You still have to like make the chain. I mean, yeah, you can just fork ETH.
Yeah. So my
it's not dependent on releasing a token.
Yeah. So my question to you guys is, would it just be possible to just deploy Fantom as a layer 2 instead of being on a layer 1? Because what I've noticed recently, like, now that, I mean, I do believe we have bottomed in the market. However, like in the previous bull cycle, there was a lot of like rotations and all that stuff, and it was really like fragmenting a lot of liquidity. And like I'm starting to think like, okay, why don't these Alta ones just become ETHL 2s or like side chains or anything like that? Wanted to throw that in your guys' way.
I think Andre was looking at doing that a couple of years ago, and there was a lot of rumors about that. And I just never saw anything come of it. I don't think that's their focus at all. I think they're working to make Fantom the best L1, and that's like Gregory said, that's the whole Fantom virtual machine they've been talking about for a few years, which in theory should be very successful. I mean, the application you never know, but I think that's the route they're taking. There's so many EVMs. I mean, you look at DeFi Llama, and there's 200 or almost 200. So yeah, I mean, it's just I think that's Fantom's approach.
Dow Chemist, if you want to join in, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me there. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting conversation, and I get the gist of your question. Like, I guess I have the same question. So, we've kind of seen the rise of the layer twos, and obviously there's the narrative, right? Sometimes it doesn't necessarily matter from a technical point of view if the alts one have something better to offer. Sometimes just a matter of a narrative. And obviously Arbitrum, Optimism, and now we have some ZKs in the form of Polygon and ZK Sync and Starkware. So I guess maybe a general question is like, you guys obviously still believe, right, in Fantom. Do you think there's like a new narrative that needs to be put in place, or just over time, like the different features or the different technical qualities of Fantom will just make it that it is going to sustain itself and probably have a second breath?
I think my opinion is that Fantom will continue to exist. I think there was a lot, like I said, it was a very popular retail chain. I mean, with a lot of users, certainly wasn't a ghost chain like some of these. I mean, a lot of people accuse Avalanche of being a ghost chain, but there was a ton of usage, and a lot of people think very fondly of it. So I think if there is assuming we have another bull market, you're going to see Fantom return to some of that kind of volume. I think it's still going to be more fragmented the further along we go. And as a native protocol on Fantom, I think our approach is to try to be more multi-chain. I mean, we create a good reputation on Fantom. A lot of people enjoyed using us, so we want to make our what we have to offer more available to on other chains. It's difficult to do that as a DEX. You have to find ways to do it, but that's who I work for, right? So I mean, Spooky is on Fantom, #1 DEX, and we're tied to it. You know, if Fantom fails, it would be tough for Spooky to continue to exist at the success we are. So it's not like we can just roll up our tent and move to another chain or something like that. We kind of generally live and die with the chain. The more we go multi-chain, the more that gets diversified. But that's the truth of it.
Are there any liquidity incentives you guys are bringing for people to build on Fantom, or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep on talking, Gorgry. You need to say something, but as I guess I've been on one of these teams longer, Fantom had a really good incentive program. It was kind of guaranteed to be around for a year, and I think the timing of when they pulled the incentives was just terrible. It was right when Saul solidly kind of died, right when Andre quit. They pulled the incentives. It's just kind of a bunch of body blows, and then the market crashed. So that kind of hurt a lot of the teams. But I guess it also kind of cleaned out some of the bad teams. So the ones that are still here and building are definitely the solid ones that'll be around for a long time. They have a thing there. It's a Gitcoin grant system. And it was also they're working on making it's a gas repayment system. I think kind of like how Binance does it. That should be rolled out here really soon, where the protocols are going to get a percentage of the what used to be burnt gas will be sent back to the dApps. I think in current volume it doesn't amount to very much, but if we get back to the kind of volumes we were doing in the bull market, it would amount to a lot.
Yeah, that's 15% of the gas usage on the network that was being burned. A bigger part was being burnt, and then 15% will not be burnt now and will be sent to the teams based on the smart contract usage they have. So yeah, that's kind of the closest thing that might get to an incentive programs for developers. And it might not be a lot for big projects with huge expenses, but it could certainly be something to look at for smaller teams building maybe like gamify or like in artistic areas. We have a big NFT scene on Fantom, which also like the prices are nothing compared to Ethereum, but the artists are there producing amazing art all the time, and communities are big and thriving. I would say even in a crab market. So for those kind of teams that can produce, and especially like GameFi, if they can produce a lot of transactions, they could be significant. Yeah, that's.
So I saw
Yeah.
that Fantom earlier this year was like pivoting to GameFi. Like what does that entail for the Fantom team? What does that really mean? Has that had any tangible effect on like the way you guys think or the way people are,
and
the
also
type of people coming to build on Fantom or anything?
And also, what is GameFi, right? Like, man, I've spoken to a multitude of projects, and they say GameFi,
Can you hear me?
GameFi, and it's like, what is it? Like, what is GameFi, right? It's kind of like this little.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Can you hear me, brother?
Yes,
I can hear you.
Uh-oh.
So
Did you hear my
Go
question?
Yes. Can you hear us, brother?
I can, yeah.
Well, yeah. Did you hear my previous question?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, the game.
I heard both.
Okay, I was sorry.
So
I was
GameFi,
making
the
sure.
way I understand GameFi is just games on chain, you know. But the different things about games on chain is that they have the actual possibility of ownership of whatever assets you have in the game. So you can call that financial in a way, but that's not the most interesting way to see it for me. It's more about ownership and about like just imagining, for me, like just imagining having like any NFT, like to remember whatever games I played when I was younger. It would be super cool today, and like, but maybe that's just a way, like a nostalgic way to see it. But yeah, it's basically games on chain, which open up for different possibilities. We've seen a lot of I don't want to say the P word, but we've seen a lot of non-sustainable tokenomics for gamifications on chain, which was based on play to earn, which basically also means pay to win. So that didn't work out great, and it won't work out for me unless like games are really cool to begin with. And sorry, I'm replying to the first part of the question, and I connect this with what I was saying earlier, like the idea of the FBM and the idea. So just without thinking on the FBM, right now Fantom is a network that has possibly the lowest fees, like across major EVM networks, the highest speed. It has finality, which means that you don't have to wait for any amount of block confirmations. This allows to build things a little bit different. There's no possibility that there will be a rollover of like 7 blocks after you you make your transaction. So this allows apps to be built in a different way, and like don't have to wait for these confirmations. And I think we have only seen the tip of the iceberg of what can be done when you have low fees, speed, and I talk a lot about finality because I think it's like the main difference between Fantom and other EVM chains. And then it's when like some possibilities to create games or other like I don't know. I like to imagine like Internet of Things or like real world assets or whatever financial derivatives that need like high frequency to be effective. That the fact that you have all these three things, especially low fees and high speed, makes this possible to build, and which it's really hard to imagine like I don't know, a simple app making 10 or 15 transactions on networks that where the cost is, I don't know, like 50 cents or something like that. Not even Ethereum, like layer 2 gas. It's not possible to think of complex derivatives or like a game that needs 15 transactions to be fun, you know. So that's kind of like the way I see the value of Fantom for the long run. And then the FVM will be like something that will make that even more important.
Guys, I want to throw a question to the room. Listen.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think Payne's able to hear me.
I was just asking
Payne
because
can't hear me.
I thought like Fantom, there was this whole thing earlier where said they were like the chain was like focusing on GameFi, and so Yeah, I was asking like if there was any, are there any cool like games coming that you guys are excited about, or you know,
Yeah,
anything
I don't.
else that is going on
I've
Phantom?
I've seen Fantom do some promotions for GameFi, but there's nothing really that exciting. I think Polygon's been doing a lot more on the GameFi side than Fantom has. I think it's still something that Fantom has a lot of potential for it, simply because of the low cost and the speed. Um, I've seen projects launch on Fantom that would call themselves GameFi, but yeah, like Gregory said, the tokenomics are terrible. I think you have to be really careful to watch out for. Well, maybe this applies to everything. I was going to say watch out for scams in GameFi. I think where GameFi, the easiest way to work would be to take things like I think people are probably familiar with CS:GO or something. You know, people are selling their knives or what have you, and so doing something like that that interacts on chain, um, where people can sell their NFTs. I think that's a really easy way to do that. I think that the problem has been is that Steam doesn't allow anything to do with crypto and games. So finding a service like that can do that and legally do it would be the easiest way. Trying to do games where you're trying to uh, do all kinds of transactions or kind of I forget the name of it now, but Andre was making a game on chain.
Rarity.
Yeah, Rarity, right? I mean, it pretty much killed the chain because everyone was using it, and Fantom just it wasn't ready to do that kind of volume yet. I think it could handle
I
it more
can't hear
now.
anybody. I'm gonna step off real quick and come back.
Yeah, but yeah, I would not say that Fantom is a GameFi chain right now. I think it's still definitely DeFi.
Yeah, just for context, Rarity was like a Dungeons and Dragons on chain where people would be like sending their characters on an adventure every day and killing the chain with thousands of transactions, like farming the game in a way. So yeah, but I think that skins, NFTs as skins, I think that's the most viable like business model for Gamify.
I do want to make a call out. I do want to make a call out real quick, Gorgery. Sorry, Hefe Token is here with us, and he's doing some GameFi with I think it's like first person shooters, shooting zombies, that kind of thing. I just wanted to call him out since he's here in the chat with us.
Can you guys hear me? Testing.
Yeah.
Yep, you're back.
Okay. All right, Mr. Producer, can you send me co-host? Mr. Producer, can you send me co-host? Give me a sec, guys.
Yeah, but in general, while we're waiting, I think it's interesting to hear from you guys. Like, you guys are builders, obviously. You're not just focusing on the Fantom ecosystem. You're paying attention to other ecosystem, and it seems like at least like in terms of features, the low transaction fees, the finality, there should be some use cases that only make sense on Fantom, at least as opposed to something like Ethereum, right? Do you guys are seeing this? Like, because a lot of chains sometimes are a bit guilty of repeating and forking existing protocols and existing ideas. Or are there things, and maybe you guys can talk about your own protocols as well, that you think are maybe fundamentally different and can't really be done the same way outside of Fantom?
Go.
Yeah, I mean that's a hard thing to answer. I mean, I think Fantom in general was really focusing on doing work with governments in Asia, trying to do some real world things like tying the medicine and making it on chain in Afghanistan. That was something they were doing. I think there was a lot of talk about trying to do commodities trading um, using Fantom or like a side chain of Fantom. Um, but until maybe with the Fantom virtual machine coming out, we still run into the same challenges that a lot of L1s run into. I mean, it's still bottleneck. The main bottleneck is EVM, and I think that's what they're trying to break us away from. So Can you do something on Fantom that you can't do on any other chain? I would say no. Now, is it inexpensive and fast? Yes. Does it have a really strong retail presence? Yes. If Andre and the team are able to get FVM to work, will it allow something like high frequency trading? Maybe, but that's still an if.
Yeah, this is all exciting, guys. Yeah, appreciate y'all coming up and stuff. And so, my name is Premise, and I kind of want to ask some questions too. All the listeners and everyone on the panel, though, you know, if y'all enjoying the space, go ahead and give it a like and retweet. Let's get this thing out here. Let's get this conversation going, and get this thing juiced up. Yeah, we're having some fun. Yeah, I remember Phantom. Obviously during the bull run, there was the huge move that it had. It was very interesting at the time, and there's several projects I was looking into. It sounds like y'all kind of went over some of the incentives. That was one of the questions I had. Was there anyone out there in the space that was kind of funding new projects into the space? Do y'all know anything like that? Any specific labs, anything of that nature right now for the space, or is it kind of, hey, you gotta wait to the bull run to see the money come back?
Oh, we'll pass that over to Gory to the G, the top G.
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything else than what we mentioned. There was this one thing, but I mean, nothing is super exciting in terms of grants at the moment. That's the short answer. If you want to go deeper, there are these different programs that are very like niche focused, as we spoke, like the gas monetization program, which might help smaller teams a little bit more than bigger teams. And there's this program they put together with a few like VC funds to like kind of help drive VC money for projects that might be interested in through the foundation in a way, but not in the way that we've seen in the past years of like huge incentive programs and money flowing to basically teams that would direct it to liquidity mining in like non-sustainable ways. That's not happening right now, and I don't think it's the focus of the foundation. As we were speaking a lot about the FBN, I think their focus is on staying super lean until they can roll that out. Like there's like kind of almost a meme about talking about marketing for the foundation, which is like not great by many people's standards. But from their perspective, for what I can see, it's basically they're waiting on having that rolled out, and then maybe we'll see something different from their side. So yeah, and building on Fantom, the way I see it, it's like it's on the one side, it's your typical EVM chain where you can do DeFi in a kind of efficient way, and the UX is pretty good. It's super fast. Like to be a user on Fantom, it's really, really good. I haven't been chain hopping a lot lately, but the other EVMs that I've tried, to be honest, they're not as good and fast. And like the UX, if you do a lot of transactions, you'll end up waiting a lot of time for that transactions to go through one after the other, and that's a little bit more comfy on Fantom, to be honest. So I like that part. But then looking at the long run, there are all these bullish cases for Fantom that we'll have to wait and see if they're confirmed. But
Tempest, I brought you back up. I know you requested to speak. Tempest, brought you up to speak, man. Snorlax, I'll invite you as well if you want to come up. So I got a few questions. They're protocol specific to both of you guys. So with Equalizer, man, Mr. G, top G, would you be able to address the gap that Equalizer's trying to do left by the downfall of Solidly and the migration to ETH mainnet?
Yeah, for sure. How to make a super long story short? The Solidly drama was super long and super complex and lots of factors involved. Basically, Android dropped Solidly on Fantom. It was mind-blowing in the sense that it allows for on-chain governance to drive emissions. That's the most interesting part for me. It's like a way for token holders to have like a kind of perfect on-chain governance to drive emissions. DAOs are kind of like, we haven't found a way to do like perfect on-chain DAOing, but Andrew found a way to for this to work for a specific function, which is how to make the DEX more efficient through this like game theory thing, where each person is pursuing their own self-interest and benefits the efficiency of the DEX. That's the kind of big innovation for me in this little game theory thing. The protocol was super broken, full of bugs. It went down super fast after a few months. And yeah, there was this community fork, I would call it, from a lot of big token holders of the original Solidly that took it to mainnet and deployed a V2 on mainnet, which is there. I'm not following it too much lately, to be honest. Then we had, this was later. The first one to fork Solidly was Velodrome on Optimism, which was one of the teams participating in this wars in the early Solidly days. They kind of validated the model. They had OP incentives, which kind of is hard to tell, like what part is the model working and what part is the OP incentives there. But they kind of validated the model. They got a lot of TBL. They're having swaps every minute in there. I think they're still number one, or they're always like fighting their number one position in Optimism. So that kind of validated the model. Then we Equalizer, we're a fork of Velodrome technically. By now we have a lot of modifications, and we fixed some other things that we didn't like or didn't work the way we expected. And yeah, we're very proud to have done it on Fantom itself, the chain where this new DeFi primitive was dropped by Andre. And yeah, then after us, we've seen Solidly forks popping everywhere. There are, I don't know, like 5, 7 on Arbitrum. ZK Think has another 5 or 7, some of them upcoming. Optimism doesn't have another one, I think. We're seeing some on AVAX. Not sure there's another one on mainnet, I don't think, because it's a model that requires a lot of transaction. And this is maybe a good example of what I was saying earlier. Like if you require too many transactions, retail cannot participate in governance on Ethereum. If you have to do like not even like, I don't know, 10 transactions a week, it's not viable for small to medium portfolios. So that's kind of a little edge that the lower cost EVMs have over mainnet. I don't know if I replied the question. I kind of mentioned a little bit how the Solidly virus spread all over EVM chains.
Yeah, all good, man. Yeah, you did good, brother. You did good, man. My follow-up question is, could you explain the fee structure of Equalizer and how it ensures that the utility and reward for holding and locking the token itself are high enough to support the required liquidity?
Okay, that's a good one. We originally saw that the original Solidly had, I'm talking for volatile pairs. We have volatile and stable pairs. Stable pairs have curves similar to Curve, apparently a bit more efficient on the narrower range. But basically, we have stable pairs and volatile pairs. Original Solidly had a fixed fee structure of 0.01%, which was super low. Velodrome, because Solidly was thought about being like a super primitive for building all this crazy stuff on top, which never happened. Then Velodrome has 0. I don't know if they modified it, but they have 0.02%, if I'm not mistaken. And what we saw when we were designing the protocol is that we didn't think that would be enough to reward liquidity providers indirectly in our models through the V equal holders enough. So we set the fees at 0.2% initially, which is it's what like the kind of industry standard for Uni V2 kind of pools. And we believe it's a more optimal fee structure. We now have dynamic fees where we can modify them for some pools, which can have like lower liquidity, and we can adjust them to 0.4%, for example. And then on the stable side, right now it's 0.02%, so a little bit higher than the original, but still super low. We have like half the fees that Curve is doing, for example. But it's not always about the fees, because you always want to have deep liquidity to to serve the trades efficiently without high slippage. So the fees is only a part of the model, which incentivizes the LPs, in our case, through the V equal holders that vote for them. Basically, in our model, LPs exchange rewards with V equal holders. So LPs get 100% of equal rewards, and voters get 100% of the fees. And this kind of agreement is the one that allows the governors to be voting, driving the fees every week, every epoch. So yeah, we adjusted there a little bit.
So, brother, I understand one of the goals that Equalizer is trying to do is to increase the ETH trading pair volume on Fantom. How exactly are you guys working to achieve that? And also, I'd love to know how exactly the Equalizer flywheel works and what makes it hyper effective at attracting liquidity.
Yeah, getting Ethereum volume is like the objective of any DEX on any chain, I would say. We initially believed we had like a thesis about Ethereum being used on Fantom, which maybe didn't play out exactly as we expected in the initial liquidity incentive program that we did. So now we're still focusing on that kind of liquidity, but now like ETH specific liquidity. We've seen that the highest pair on Fantom is usually USDC Fantom, which we now have the deepest liquidity, but we're there with Spooky Swap all the time. Like one has more volume, the other one has more some other days. They obviously have more volume because they have like a very broad offer of liquidity pairs. And the other question was about the flywheel. So yeah, so the way that it works, again, it's the token holders of Equal lock their tokens as V equal for 6 months, which is a little bit shorter than your typical 2 or 4 year lock. They're locked inside an NFT, so they're still liquid through a secondary market, which is an interesting piece of the puzzle. And we're very lucky to have on Fantom PaintSwap, which has a functional financial NFT marketplace, which I don't think any other chain has yet, where you can filter what the value of your NFT is by the underlying value of the ERC20 tokens inside. That's really good for our model. Then this V equal holders vote for the pairs they want to incentivize. And the game theory part is that they only get the fees from the pools that they vote for. So they will be incentivized to vote for the highest volume piece, because the volume pairs, because those will be producing the highest fees. So they will be getting more fees. We also have inbuilt bribing, so other protocols can incentivize their liquidity that way. The idea is that this produces value for the token, and when there's more value for the token through the underlying yield that it has, it makes price go up, and then APRs go up, and then we can attract more liquidity that can incentivize more trades. I mean, we can incentivize more liquidity that can drive more trades and more volume. So that's what we call the flywheel. It's this indirect agreement between token holders and LPs.
Man, during good times, sometimes I wake up and I say, okay, I'm checking price and it's rising. I have underinvested by a lot, but I sleep comfy knowing devs are hard at work. And so far this year, I have underinvested by a lot. And I think everyone here enjoys when price goes up. And I actually wanted to divert from asking you protocol specific questions. Um, do you believe what's occurred over the last 2 weeks is going to influence the space moving forward? And I don't want to focus too much on PEPE, but it is the original meme of the internet, and being that you're a part of the industry and all that stuff, it's sort of like the second coming of Doge, right? And I wanted to know, do you believe this adds a new form of market dynamics as far as social capital goes? Because even if you're not in crypto, you know what Pepe is, right? Everyone in here has frog memes. So from a game theory perspective, Do you think we're in for some interesting times over the next couple of years, brother?
Yeah.
Oh,
For
go ahead, go ahead.
me, For me, I was never a fan of Doge. It just wasn't a meme I identified with. Um, Pepe, I definitely more identified with that meme in general. Maybe, well, for certain reasons, but I just think it's funny that Matt. I saw something on. I think it was on OpenSea or something. So Matt Fury claiming or someone pretending to be Matt Fury or something, trying to make Pepe NFTs. And I just think it's funny because he tried to kill Pepe back in 2017, and you can't kill a meme that whose time has come, right? So I think it's really interesting. I identify with it again a lot more than I did with Doge. Who knows? I mean, I think people are having fun with it, um, and if anything, it's making the crypto space at least adding some excitement. I went to Computer Census, and it was a lot smaller than last year, but maybe the people had a little more hope than they did this time last year. Last year was kind of a lot of depression, so or no, or denial. And I think right now people at least have some hope that maybe we're seeing things come back. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're back, man. I'm thinking we're back. Payne, do you think we're back, brother?
It's a good question. I mean, I don't like to. I just like to play it by ear, kind of like I don't like to be like, oh, I'm so bullish for the next like 6 months or 3 weeks or whatever. I've just been kind of like just trading volume and stuff. I mean, I've been pretty bullish all year. Been bullish like since FTX because I was like, I mean, the thought process was just why would they like what could possibly happen that's worse than FTX, 3AC, Luna all exploding. And yeah, so I've been pretty bullish like publicly since December. And yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty good year, so I've taken some off the table recently because there is usually some kind of big volatility event in May. Whether that's to the upside or the downside remains to be seen. I think there is a world where, like you've said, the Fed, everyone's waiting for them to cut interest rates, and that will be like, that's obviously very bearish whenever that initially happens. And so I think there is a scenario where that doesn't happen until next year, and then we just have like kind of a mini run like this whole year, since there's really nothing, like there's no huge catalyst, and we're all just the real economy is like adjusting to interest rates and stuff. But I think that that honestly doesn't matter to a certain extent because you can find a bull market anywhere, and that was my whole point yesterday. Where if you go on chain, there's always like little sectors of the market popping up, whether it be NFTs or DeFi or shit coins, and so you can really if you're keen to the streets, you can just kind of find these little pockets of liquidity and play them and run up some pretty good bags in a time like this. Is fun too because we know, I mean, Ethereum is still like 70% or yeah, like 60% down from the all-time high. So uh yeah, it'll be a fun year to run up some ETH and have that ready to go for the bull market.
All right, all right, all right.
Yeah.
Fellas, if you're in this space, do us a favor and follow that big yellow square because Bitcoin with the nice aesthetic yellow check mark. I want everyone in here, if you're new to the space, show us some love and throw us a follow and turn on bell notifications. My name is Wabi, and I host spaces like these all the time. We host people from the digital asset space, people from the equity markets, and also community opinion leaders. We've had guys like Trader XO, Big Cheds, Benjamin Cowan, Zaki Manian, and we've also had projects that we'll be releasing in the next year or two. We've had guys like Sri Ram building Eigenlayer. We've also had our guys over at Saga, who we'll be having on tomorrow. And more recently today we had Nick Dodson and Ruben from the Fuel Network team, and we also had Composability Labs join the space, and we also had someone from the Aave team and the Lens Protocol team. So make sure to follow us and turn on bell notifications so that you can keep up with all of our shows. And we also, we host multiple shows throughout the day, so it's pretty much around the clock, and it's built for market participants by market participants. And we'll also be launching a YouTube educational series. And we do host a Sunday roundtable space where everybody from the team is featured, and we talk about, our outlooks going into the new week, and also sort of a weekly digest over the things that have occurred in the digital asset and financial market space over the prior week. Feel free to follow everyone here on the speaker panel. Your support means the world. And so I want to throw it over to Dow Chemist. Dow, I know you recently hosted Velodrome, brother. You're all over the place, man. You're like Captain Hook, man. You're just going around finding all the treasure chests, man. You're going to Treasure Island, you know what I mean? On the hunt for gems. So, brother, I want to pass it on over to you, and if you want to throw our boys here any questions or statements, or bring up any topics, man, feel free to do so, brother. Good to have you on as co-host. Go ahead, man. Stage is all yours.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to keep up with you guys. The space is filled with a lot of teams building interesting and exciting projects. So it's hard to keep up. And just trying to keep up with the Ethereum ecosystem is a 24 or 48-hour day. So being able to actually see what's going on in other spaces, other chains, whether it's layer twos or Alt One, is really hard. And just real quick, like I kind of see what Payne is saying, right? Like I'm not like extremely bullish, but I think there's enough momentum right now where if you look in specific aspect of DeFi, you'll see some narrative that's starting to have legs, right? One of those narratives is LSD, right? Liquid staking derivatives. I think it's now the most popular activity to do on DeFi. It has surpassed lending and trading. And this is right off the bat of the fork, the Shapella fork from Ethereum, which now enables withdrawal. And so if you think about the timing, it's very, very early in LSD, right? It's kind of like if you think about institutions looking at their narrative as a way to have exposure to crypto, one of the major asset being ETH, and then gaining some passive yield on that. And what a lot of people call the risk-free rate, because of all the proof of stake chain, ETH is the most secure. That seems like a great entrance for them, right? And once the withdrawal has been enabled, from a fiduciary point of view, it enables them, allows them to actually participate in that now and be responsible towards the client. So for LSD to already be the number one activity in terms of TVL, right? You have a project like Lido, Rocket Pool, and I'm sure that same concept of providing a derivative for a coin, whether it's on Ethereum, whether it's on Fantom, whether it's BSV, the same system would apply, right? So you can not just secure a chain, but also participate in the DeFi layer on top of that chain. I think that's very exciting. So hopefully that's one narrative that takes us out of the crab market or some bearish activity into like a proper bull market. And to your point, YB, I think everybody got to get some, right? So the retailers are not necessarily into DeFi, also have to find a narrative. And yeah, I think PEPE is a great meme. Even outside of crypto, which is really interesting, it could have this, this capacity to bridge crypto into mainstream and be this story that people can kind of gravitate around. So yeah, I'm safely bullish, I would say that. But yeah, just to throw back at the team that we have on the panel, what trend are you bullish on? Is it similarly LSD or something within DeFi or something outside of DeFi? What piques your interest?
So one, besides from the maybe typical one, there's solidly fork season. So I'm also bullish on that narrative. I really think that the innovation there to govern a protocol in one specific function, as I said, it's super interesting, and we're seeing projects doing it in very different ways, which I think it's also good to see people doing stuff and breaking stuff. Hopefully no one gets hurt, but we're seeing innovations there and different approaches, which I like always to see. Just to mention one that might not be so mainstream right now, but I do believe it has a lot of legs. It's financial NFTs, and again, maybe it's close to the way our protocol works, where we lock ERC20 tokens as VE tokens with voting power inside an NFT. So basically, that's what I would call a financial NFT. You could also call like a Uniswap V3 position a financial NFT, although there's no point right now to trade it instead of just unwinding your position. But I think there could be a very good opportunity for derivatives to start building on top of these financial NFTs. We've seen DeFi develop a lot with fungible positions. So ERC20 tokens are just one token is the same with the other, and you don't mind which token you have. But non-fungible positions that have more information on the financial position, and if you compare it to the real world, basically this exists a lot. There are a lot of examples where a financial position is just not a balance. It has like a due date if it's a lending, or it can have like a maturity. It can have a lot of different data inside there, and so I think that's something that I'd like to see much more. Not saying it's a current narrative to be super bullish on, like in this exact second. So do not trade it for the short term, but it's something I've been researching for a while, and I'm super interested in.
Well, brother, I have some good news for you. Up there on the Nest, I posted a space that we did with Insert Finance and Hentai Avenger to talk about NFT Fi. So feel free to check that out. Same thing with I was about to say our users. Oh gosh, with our audience members. If you guys want to check out anything regarding NFT finance and all that good stuff, I put it up on the Nest. Feel free to follow our boys here as well, and also the guys over at Insert. Very bullish on what they're doing. That was a pretty interesting conversation with what they're doing with their shard vaults and how they're gonna allow.
Let me add. No, I see a lot of also NFT finance. What I see, it's mostly a reference to like NFTs being either lended or like perpetual for NFTs. So like what we do with our valuable JPEGs, how we leverage that and turn them into a financial instrument. And the other side of the merge between DeFi and NFTs is when you actually, so the example of putting an ERC20 token inside an ERC721 NFT, it's a perfect example where like you don't have a JPEG directly. So it's not about the art originally, but it's about the DeFi originally that then brings in the possibility of using a non-fungible token to represent it. But what I wanted to say is that it will be super interesting in the near future to see the merge of these two like subsections of DeFi and NFTs, like coming from the DeFi side and coming from the NFT sides, and what happens in between them. I think we're still to see some nice surprises there.
Well, brother, I just hope we don't run into some 2008 situation, because I do see some very fishy things here. Now, I'm not even talking about salmon. I'm just saying really suspicious, really sus, right? So I'm thinking about like, sort of the ultimate Ponzi, right? So you take an NFT and then you borrow against it, but go ahead, Payne.
Bobby,
Go ahead.
funny. Well, that literally dropped it. That literally happened today. So today, Blur announced you can borrow ETH against Azukis and Miladies. And so if you have one Milady, you can take out a loan of like 2.5 ETH. And
Wait, Payne,
dude,
is this a yield bearing NFT, which then you can lock up on an LSD, and that earns yield, and then you can bridge it and then wrap it in a synthetic? That's the main thing. You take the
so tired.
NFT, you wrap it, and then you send it over to the L2, and then you borrow against it while you stake it.
Dude, you can well, yeah, I mean, there's this thing is crazy though, because it is the ultimate Ponzi. Like you can straight up go and take out a loan against your milady, use it to buy more miladies,
dude, before
and then that
before
pumps
you
the
go
floor
on,
milady.
just know, dude, just know that there's probably somebody in the audience that's gonna like formulate a cooked project and then present it to a VC, and they're gonna get $10 million in funding. I just want you to be aware as we're throwing this in the air, someone's like, oh, this sounds like a good idea. So go ahead, man. Just go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, this launched on Blur today. That's what I'm trying to say. This, yeah. So it's funny that NFT fi is definitely a big thing.
Yeah, man. So I don't want to take up too much time from Mr. Owen and the top G. So Owen, I do have one question about the spooky swap, right? I'm not feeling too scared, but I do want to ask this question. So I noticed that you guys have a built-in bridge on the spooky swap, and I find it a very interesting feature, right? How exactly does that work, and how does that benefit users who want to bridge tokens across different networks? I know there's a variety of bridges, but if you want to go into
Yeah,
just a small, brief, concise statement on how all that works.
yeah. No, that's pretty easy because so that is a reskin of multi-chains bridge. Um, we we essentially did. I mean, we made a UI interface for multi-chain. Uh, any swap. Um, Unfortunately, we gained nothing from that. I mean, we provide, it's a great service we provide to our users. Um, but we gained nothing from that. I think multi-chain gained a lot, and we ended up having to do all kinds of support, technical support for that by just by providing that. But that's what it is. Multi-chain is a great bridge. I think what I've always said is I'm not aware of anything that's ever been lost on multi-chain's bridge. Um, so yeah, that's what it is, and it's been a super reliable product. What we pride ourselves on is having a great UI UX, and I think that's an example of where we've succeeded with that bridge.
Awesome, man. And I did want to know one other thing, brother. So there's a lot of tokens available on the Spooky Swap, right? So how exactly does the Spooky Swap platform ensure that the token selection process is not only fair but also transparent? And how, like, what other details as far as like how you guys work with partners to add new tokens to the platform itself?
Yeah, so to be clear, anyone can add their tokens to Spooky Swap. Now, if you're referring, it's completely permissionless. Now, if you're referring to essentially a whitelisting of a token, if we whitelist a token, sometimes people look at that as an endorsement. I want to say it's never a full endorsement. Do your own research. I think Phantom Foundation said that themselves. I mean, they were being accused of any time they tweeted a project that was basically them giving an endorsement. Um, it's not an endorsement. It's just a case where that token had enough volume, enough liquidity. We did some due diligence on checking to see if there were any kind of audits, or if liquidity was locked or something, or how long the project's been around. We had some hard rules during the bull market time, that now if we kept new tokens to those rules, none of them would pass. So it's something that changes over time, but we do our best. We've had tokens that we've whitelisted, that months down the road the project pulls its liquidity. I mean, there's nothing we can do to prevent that from happening. We just try to do our best of doing some checking and making sure that it's at least a viable product with liquidity and volume to make it make it worthwhile listing. But yeah, it is a permissionless system. I wish it was the case of where that was also permissionless somehow. Maybe that can be done in the future. or maybe there's community voting or something like that. It's a tricky thing, and like I said, Fantom foundations have the same problem. And I would say that's the same thing for Spooky Swap. If Spooky is tweeting a project, it is not an endorsement. It is just we're just maybe they're partners that we're working with, but it doesn't mean we own the project or anything or endorse the fact that they're a safe product. So definitely do your own research.
Owen, and I wanted to know, how did you get into crypto, man? And also, how did that lead onto building into Fantom? And what was your aha moment? What I mean by aha moment, I'm not saying, aha like the band that sings Take On Me. Now, I like karaoke myself, but I'll save the singing for later. But I want to know, how did you come across digital assets and what led you to, into the roads of Fantom, brother?
Yeah, sure. So back in, I don't know if it was 2008 or 2009, back when I was watching YouTube videos, and I was like, okay, am I going to buy silver or am I going to buy this new digital asset called Bitcoin? I kind of like made a mistake. I I ended up buying some shiny rocks back then, uh, and then I ended up being a real bitter no coiner for a while. I think
Look,
when Mount
Owen,
Gox.
I hate to interrupt you, man, but don't feel bad because right now, you had people that spent their time over the last couple of years bidding digital assets, and now they're trying to be equity market experts bidding bonds instead of taking
Yeah,
advantage of the current market dynamics. So don't feel
yeah,
ashamed, brother. Don't feel ashamed. It's
Y-
better that you're in the industry rather than coming into the industry and then just leaving to think that you apply that same degen use into a market that will just cuck you. So
oh
go ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah.
brother.
No, it's just I just sat for years being bitter about the fact that I knew about this. I knew about Bitcoin when it was the guy was buying a pizza and all that stuff. Um, I knew about it. I didn't do it for a really long time. I finally, I think Mount Gox happened and made me feel better because I was like, oh, I probably would have lost all my money or something. Um, and back and around, I started dipping my toes in like around 2018. When I really went in fully was after the most recent election in 20, was it 2021 now? I did that right in the January is when I really started dipping in. I wish I had hit the DeFi summer the year before, but um, I just started checking out, trying to find what was the right layer one. I'm always one looking for something that's different. So I kind of looked at Ethereum and were like, I don't like that. What's the cool thing? And I ran across Andre and Fantom, and that had a great narrative. The timing was great. I started using it, and like it was wow. I like I said before, I was not part of the original team. I saw this wow. There's this thing, Spooky Swap. There's um, all these other things are popping up. I mean, Spirit Swap came up at the time, and it was just a really cool. It was just it was neat. It was a really cool time, and I became kind of a minor Twitter influencer. Um, anyways, after some time and working with some coins, I was in a group with some of the Spooky Swap team, and they said they were looking for some BD help, and they hired me, and it's I've been with them ever since. So I love the space. I mean, we all work way more than we should, but I love what I do. I never any other job I've had in the past I hated. So I've really enjoyed it. But that's kind of how I got where I am.
Beautiful, brother. Beautiful. Glad you're in the space. Mr. G, Top G, it's your turn, brother. Would love to know your story and what led you to where you are today, man. And what was your moment that made you say, you know what, I'm gonna work in this industry. I'm gonna stick around.
Yeah, well, my involvement with crypto is much more recent. I think it was only at the beginning of 2021. Of course, just like Owen and many people, like I knew about about blockchain before, but I didn't felt it was, I don't know, maybe the right time to get really involved. And yeah, then it was a deep and fast rabbit hole that just had no end. And I think most people can assimilate or can feel this way. Like once you start digging, especially like if you become either a builder or like a content creator or like whatever thing, like different type of builders in a way, like get involved in the space like really really deep, even if as an investor, probably like if when you start doing it full time, it's just like it's one way for many people, except for those that go back to trading equities, as you said. But yeah, I think I don't know if there was like an aha moment. I started getting involved both in the investment side, and then I got interested by NFTs, and then I also found this intersection I was speaking about earlier about like what happens when these two things meet and you can create a non-fungible financial position, and that really interested me. Then I got involved, maybe one, just as a shout out to my team from the Fantom Alpha Fiends. I see Morello there. We started building an NFT project, which was kind of my first approach to feeling like a builder, from different roads. And maybe the misconception that many people have is that like to build in this space, you have to be a dev. And there are so many, like now that I got more involved with local communities too, and like the different communities online too, you start seeing how people come to this space from so many different backgrounds, and it's really amazing. And I think that's what also nurtures this space in a very unique way, probably, because we all kind of got attracted for very similar reasons. Maybe we came for the investing, maybe we came for the tech or the NFTs or whatever, but we're attracted to building things different. And if you think of Web3, okay, we're building a different way to do internet. Maybe if you're not so much into EVM chains, or kind of just because the name of your account is because Bitcoin. Maybe some people are more interested in the more hardcore Bitcoin side, but there's a similar ethos there in thinking about decentralization and doing things differently than what we've seen in the past in the world. So yeah, once you start working towards that, obviously you end up working on a niche kind of. I don't know who was saying today that like, it's literally impossible to keep up. Not even with DeFi projects, just with different layer 2s appearing. Like even only the layer 2 space, it's like super hard to keep up. I mean, I look at a lot at to Solidly DEXs, and they're popping out everywhere. And like only being like an expert of Solidly DEXs is a full-time job. And this happens to every little part of crypto, of DeFi that you look at. But it still feels like so good to be working on this space. And again, even though if you end up doing a small part, but you really feel you're part of something bigger. I've started trying to attend like a conference and something, and when you start like meeting people in real life that are working on the space, like the energy that we share, I think it's very unique, and like it's really hard to go back to doing anything else. Not only because of the adrenaline of being on DeFi, but really this community side to it. It's totally different.
That was a beautiful story, man. Appreciate you. It was great having you guys up here. Everyone in the audience, give every person up on this panel a follow, including that big rectangle square thing with the nice check called Because Bitcoin. Turn on bell notifications. We're going to be hosting a plethora of shows tomorrow. Our first show is going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be interviewing Greg Foss, an absolute legend in the finance space. And then after that, we're going to go straight into Market Check with Premise and Snorlax and myself and Max. And then, of course, right into Market Talk with myself again, with Premise and Snorlax and Max once again. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we have our guys over from Saga XYZ. They recently launched their testnet a couple of weeks ago, so we're going to catch up with those guys and see what's going on in the Saga ecosystem. So feel free to follow us and turn on bell notifications so you can catch up with all of our shows. And as usual, shout out to our sponsor here at Crypto World Radio, Knowledge Protocol. They're up on the nest on the first slide. Shout out to them. We'll be working on a YouTube video with them tomorrow, which will be posted on our channel hopefully early next week. And then we'll be hosting them on a follow-up space soon after that. So tune into our YouTube stuff as well. We're going to be posting some educational content and some nice formatted content. We're currently undergoing a soft rebrand in how we push our media. So feel free to check out our website as well. We recently got launched with a beautiful facelift. Shout out to my boy Edward. And as usual, everyone take care, and you can catch a replay of this space here on Twitter and up on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming on the space and supporting us. Shout out to you, Owen, for showing up, and also the top G, Mr. G. Looking forward to having you guys on whenever you guys want to come on up. We host these spaces, again, throughout the day, multiple shows, pretty much around the clock for the community, by the community. And yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed your time. I'll see you all tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time when we start, our day of content, which is pretty much almost every day at this point. That's actually every day. Yeah. So, all right, guys, I'll stop ranting. Peace out. I'm gonna go to Target and probably buy a chair or a beanbag. I like beanbags. So, all right, guys, peace out.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoyed it a lot.